Yo, what's up, everybody? I wrote up a little article about what I thought the key cards were in the Anakin Blue deck, and I put that up on Patreon earlier this morning. But if you aren't a Patreon subscriber and you want to know a little bit about what I think is like the critical key cards that I wouldn't cut without really good reason, I will talk about them a little bit right now. We have, this is like, I think it's 41 cards. And these are, I get a lot of questions about, most of the questions I get about deck lists are people who look at like a card and they're like, why do you put this card in the deck? And a lot of times, that card that they identified as like a question mark is the card that is like the, 59th or 60th card in the deck, something that's like in and out. Like maybe I just have it in the deck for one weekend, or maybe I just have it in for an expected meta that I think I'm gonna have. So it's not really, I wanted to just like make it easier for people to see like what I actually think is like super important, not very cuttable cards. So talking about the units first, like we have basically 9 of the 2-drop force units that are all from the new set, and those I think don't require a lot of explanation for why you want to have them in Anakin. All of them can kill an opponent's 2-drop. There's very few exceptions to that. Like the only exception is like Gungi, or if an opponent plays their own secretive sage. But pretty much, all your 2/4s trade up into all their 2/4s and survive, which is really like the entire thesis for why to play Anakin right now. The other thing is the Jedi Starfighter. A lot of people are Jedi Starfighter haters, but I am here to proselytize and spread the good word on the Jedi Starfighter. All you have to do is play Jedi Starfighter against like one of your friends who's playing a space deck, and just see how annoyed they get by it, to realize like why this is part of the core of the deck. Your Starfighter kills a 3 health ship and then can kill another 1 health ship in the same attack with the Anakin ability, pumping it to 3 power. It can kill a 4 health ship with the Anakin pump. It can also take out a shield, and then kill a 7th fleet defender in one attack. There's like so few units that can do that. So the utility of this ship is undeniable, despite the fact that it only has 1 power. It isn't really good at pushing damage, but it can take out all your opponents, like Millennium Falcons and things like that. A lot of like problem units. And bonus, it also has the Jedi trait. So if you have Yaddle on the board and you attack with Yaddle, Jedi Starfighter gets Restore 1 in addition to all its other positive attributes. And then we have like the 3-drops of Cassian and Marin. Both of them have 5 health, which is really important for a 3-drop. You really want to have something like if you're playing the pass game with like Quinlan or any other Tarkentown deck, you really want a unit that you can plop down on turn 2 that they can't just like ping Tarkentown to kill. So that's like a big reason why we're running both of these guys with 5 health over some of the other units like Yodas and things like that only the 4 health kind of minimizes their effectiveness. What's up? Matt Norton subscribing to the channel. Matt Norton is a new Bothan Network member, so congrats to Matt for joining the team. Glad to have him. Thanks for supporting the channel. All your subscriptions help a lot, actually. So the 5 health is like an important number to get to on turn 2 if you want to be able to beat Tarkentown decks. The other utility of like Marin being able to discard a card to do 2 damage to a space unit, or to use Anakin Pump to have Marin do 6 total damage to a ground unit is really good. And she also can get your villainy cards into the discard before Anakin comes down, which is sometimes very important. When you're playing against decks like Vader or like against space decks, sometimes your units don't die. Aggro decks aren't really trying to kill your units, so it's sometimes hard to get stuff into discard to activate Anakin on the 6 resource turn. Then we have all our 4-drops. These are all very, very good cards. The FFG really went fucking nuts with 4-drops in Legends of the Force. So we've done our best to try and cram as many of them into this deck as we can. They're really, the 4-drops are so good that we are barely running any 3 or 5-drops. Like the entire deck, like the gravity well of the 4-drop like sucks in everything around it and leaves us no space for 3 or 5s. So we're just trying to play as many of these as we can every game. If you play 8 4-drops, all 8 of these guys in your game, you're probably going to win. And then we skip the 5-drop slot because Power of the Dark Side and Force Lightning are often getting played for 5. Power costing 5 in this deck, and Force Lightning for 5 doing 4 damage. So a lot of times you're using it to like clean up a Falcon or a red 5 or another 4 health unit in space. Yo, what's up? Meeple on Fire subscribing, thank you. So yeah, Force Lightning's often getting paid 5 for it to do 4 damage as basically an expensive open fire. But you get the payoff of Anakin coming down the next turn to make up for overpaying on the 5 resource turn. And then we have 1 copy of Rivals. I think that's kind of necessary right now in the meta with all the pilot leaders that are very difficult to kill. If they flip onto a big ship and you just like can't kill them in any other way, you just need the Rivals fall there. Also with Kylo Tarkin and stuff being popular, Rivals is just really critical. At least having 1 copy of it just to like late game take out like anything that comes down. And then you have the Luke and Crate, and I think that those are just obvious why we include those. A lot of people hate Crate, but I think it's just like necessary to close out games. There's so many games that just like can just get into like back and forth mid-range slugfests that like don't ever end, and you just deck yourselves unless you have a Crate to drop on the table, and like you just twist your opponent into knots when they're trying to figure out a way to deal with that without taking lethal damage. There's so many times where your opponent has like they have like 10 damage on their base, but you drop the Crate, and then obviously whatever they play that turn like puts them into check from the Crate attack the next turn. So yeah, that's the core. There's a lot of other cards that I have in my deck list that I wouldn't very easily cut, but that aren't necessarily like absolutely necessary to the deck as these cards are. Some of these I might have like an extra copy of in the final deck list. Like you might want to run extra Cassians or extra Marins, but I feel like 2 is like the minimum for those cards to run. So yeah, so let's go to chat. Meeple says, I think right now the only non-debatable cards in any Force are the 9 2-drops, Force Thrower, Cassian, Kiadi, Anakin, 1 Rival Luke, and 2 Power Dark Side. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's too far off. I just also think that the Jedi Starfighters in the current meta, where there are a lot of space techs, like you have to have the ability to drop a 2-drop. You have to be able to drop a ship on turn 1, or you can really quickly run into trouble. So that's why I included those in addition. And I also think Marin is just like a really important part of the Anakin strategy to set that up. But very good making 2nd place at a PQ with it. That's great. Owen Lars. I have Owen Lars in my sideboard currently. I don't know. I like him, but it's kind of hard. It's just really hard. It's a very tight deck list. It's really hard to fit in like a 1-drop that sometimes doesn't do much. But I have him in because one of the matchups I've been having a hard time with is Sabine, and I think Owen is pretty good in the Sabine matchup, and he's also pretty good in the Boba matchup as like a cheap hit points to soak indirect, and then also like if you put Owen down, you can effectively soak like 4 damage without like breaking a sweat, just by being able to put 2 damage on your base, 2 damage on him, and then healing the 2 damage off your base. So it's pretty good. 2 Force Lightning. Yeah, I don't know if I could get I think that in a Force Throw meta, having the full set of Force Lightning is really important. You know, a lot of times you're just discarding it to their Force Lightning, but with the reason I'm on 5 total villainy cards is because 5 total villainy gives you around a 75% chance of having a villainy card by the time Anakin comes down, and I think it's just really important in a lot of matchups to have Anakin at full power. Yeah, what's up? Marin you don't like because you need to discard a card to kill a 3/5 from Quinlan. Yeah, I mean, against Quinlan it's not great. Usually I'm just gonna play Cassian on turn 2. It really depends. It's so contextual. Like, you know, Cassian from Smuggle is really good against Quinlan also, but like, yeah, you're discarding a card, but if you're discarding a villainy card to kill something, then it's like helping you out. I don't know. I mean, I have found that lately I haven't really been running into problems against Quinlan because, or at least like the discard isn't what's causing the problems. Like, you play Marin on 3. On the 4 resource turn, you're attacking it and killing something and discarding a Power of the Dark Side. And then playing like one of your 4 drops, hopefully you play Kiadi Mundi, and then the card you discarded doesn't matter that much. And then the 5 resource turn, you can smuggle out Cassian and replace the the discarded card also. So like, there's a lot of ways that like you can work around the downside of Marin. And then on 6, if you're getting -3 times 2 from Anakin, then you're really making up for the discard. You have to be a little careful. Like, obviously, if you're in a, like, sometimes you're playing against a Quinlan who's just like discarding you like crazy, and if they're discarding you like crazy, like, you might not need to like be discarding from Marin because you already got your villainy card in the discard. And if they're discarding you a lot, like, they're probably not playing as many units, right? Like, if they're like sparking you and stuff, like, you might not need to fight for board so much with Marin to like discard to kill something. You know what I'm saying? So it's very contextual in that way. Yeah, the 5-drop Rosalind, the 5 drops. Yeah, the thing is that like the quality of the 4 drops is so high. So like a lot of times you're wanting to do like Itinerant Warrior on, like, depends on the matchup. If you're playing against like a discard matchup, you probably want to play Kiadi on 4 just to be able to, because like it's very important to draw the cards before you're forced to discard. So you want to like play Kiadi for 4, draw 2 cards real quick, and that way if like they can't like pillage you or something and like cripple you. And then next turn you play the Itinerant Warrior and like a Force Throw. Or like Power of the Dark Side or something like that. So a lot of times you're doing like 4+1 on the 5 resource turn if you're not doing one of your villainy cards. But it's kind of like toolboxy in that way. Kazuda Red. I don't know how much of a menace Kazuda Red is. I know it beats some decks. But anyway, that's like kind of the thinking behind why I feel that these are the core cards. You might not agree with all of the choices, but this is the shell that I'm working with. So that being said, let's play some games.